What is going on, everybody? My name's Chris. Welcome to Bourbinsane. We're back today and we are reviewing some George Dickel. This is the new George Dickel 13-year bottled in bond bourbon. Thank you so much to my wonderful patron Christopher David for hooking me up with this bottle. Not available in Michigan, so he was able to acquire a bottle for me. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm excited about this one. I've had a couple pours out of this now. I opened it first on one of my live streams. Oh yeah, that Dickel can pop. Pop that Dickel, pop that Dickel. But this is a bottle that's 13 years old and has a retail value of around $36, so ridiculously good priced. Let's talk about George Dickel a little bit. So the actual name of the distillery is actually Cascade Hollow Distillery, and they make all the Dickel juice. There's a Dickel number 8, Dickel 12, George Dickel Rye, and this is their newest expression, which is the 13-year-old bottled in bond. Now, bottled in bond means it has to be 4 years old, at least, bottled at 100 proof, made by one distiller in one distilling season in a bonded warehouse. So that's what bottled in bond means. It kind of just ensures the quality of the whiskey is good. Back in the day, it was very important. You wanted to make sure you got good juice and you weren't getting anything that was secondhand from somebody you didn't know or didn't trust. So the bottled in bond is a nice aspect on this bottle. Mash bill is pretty unique on this bottle, actually. It's 84% corn, 8% rye, so pretty low rye, 8%, and then only 8% malted barley as well. Now, George Dickel is used in a lot of other whiskeys. A lot of craft distilleries do source from Cascade Hollow. They source this juice. Companies like Smooth Ambler, most of their stuff comes from George Dickel. It is a Tennessee whiskey, so Tennessee whiskey is a little bit different than normal Kentucky bourbon or any bourbon throughout the rest of the country. So Tennessee whiskey actually uses what's called charcoal mellowing in their whiskey, and they actually, after it comes off the still, they mellow that distillate through the charcoal mellowing before it goes into the barrel. So, you know, some people say it imparts some more like maple flavors. Imagine some of those charcoal flavors. So we'll see if that comes through on this bottle or not, but I'm excited to get into this one. I think we did enough of the background. Let's get right into this. Not too impressive of a pop there. This bottle's already been opened, so. Nice, decent pour there, though. Very nice labeling on this bottle, too. The blue really sticks out nicely. And you can definitely recognize it on the shelf, so. So color first. It's really a medium caramel color in my light. It's not too dark, not too light, really. For being 13 years, I was expecting it to be a little bit darker. And in the bottle, it looks quite dark, but actually in the glass, it's looking pretty light, like almost a honey color, so. All right, let's go into the nose here, guys. So immediately, and this is common with the George Dickel expressions I have had, it's got a very unique nose. It's very mineral-y, very vitamin and mineral. So picture, and someone in one of my live streams, I cannot remember who it was, but put a comment down below if it was you. They described it as Flintstones vitamins, and that's an extremely on-point description of this nose. I mean, when you were a kid, you got those Flintstone vitamins. That's what this is in the glass on the nose. The oak is definitely coming through quite a bit. I mean, 13 years, it should be coming through. Little bit of honey on this as well. Not much spice at all. Again, being the low rye, I wasn't expecting much spice anyway. The only kind of spice I would describe in this is more of a barrel spice or maybe barrel char. But even that's not the normal peppery spice I'm expecting. Overall, it's got a decent nose. Still got the classic bourbon flavors with the caramel, the vanilla, brown sugar. But really that Flintstone vitamin, those chalky Flintstone vitamins, that's kind of just right on the nose to me. It's sticking with me. So let's give it a sip though here. Cheers, everyone. Luckily on the palate, that Flintstone vitamin note kind of fades away. You do get it initially on your palate when it hits you with those almost tropical fruits, but it's the vitamin tropical fruits, you know. It's kind of like, think of like a bottle of Tums, like assorted fruit flavored Tums. It's kind of those type of flavors. It's not like fresh tropical fruit that you get. That goes along with the mineral, probably being Tennessee whiskey as well. I'm guessing that's all part of that as well. Much more oak comes through on the palate though, especially when we get to the back of the palate. Let's have another sip. Yeah, the oak definitely hits the back part of the palate. Still a nice sweetness, caramel vanilla up front, oak on the back of the palate. Mid palate, that's where I'll pick up some spice usually. Not getting hardly any at all. Hardly any spice on this at all. And it must just be due to that mash bill being such a low rye content. So it's a pretty one-dimensional whiskey. It doesn't really take your palate on any kind of journey at all. It's kind of just what you expect a bourbon should taste like, a good solid bourbon. Nothing wrong with the product at all. It's not going to be my favorite go-to daily drinker at all. Overall, I think this is not a bad whiskey. The age, with that kind of fake, chalky, vitamin note, the age helps mellow and balance that out a little bit. So you still get the sweetness up front, which is nice. Not much of a mouth coating, but as it hits the back of the palate, that oak kicks in. And it's not drying out my palate like I thought it was going to. So I watched one review of this before I put this out, and that was Scott and Bart from Scotch Test Dummies. And it was funny watching the review because both of them were polar opposites. Scott seemed to really like it. Bart couldn't stand it, thought it was so drying, not his flavor profile, For me, I think I'm leaning more towards this with Scott. I'm a pretty decent fan of this. Now, one of the reasons is this is only $36. So we're talking a bottled and bond product, 13 years old, and only coming in about $35, $36. That's unheard of. If you see a bottle on the shelf anywhere with those specs, you're going to pick it up without question, even if you don't know anything about the whiskey. At least I would, being a whiskey drinker. The actual specs on the bottle are great. If you haven't had a George Dickel product before, you have to like that flavor profile. Now, I'm not always in the mood for this type of whiskey, but for that George Dickel, Tennessee whiskey flavor profile. But when I am, this is going to be a good pour. It's got a good balance of sweetness with oak and easy to drink too. The 100 proof is a nice proof point, and it goes down real easy. When I look at this bottle, for some reason, I just think George Dickel was thinking, we have a whole bunch of this 13-year-old whiskey, and we need to do something with it. Like, if we wait any longer, it's gonna turn, it's gonna get worse. We need to pull this. So I feel like that's why they decided to pull it and bottle this barrels, especially at this price point. I think the head juice, they were afraid, it's at its peak, it's not gonna get any better. We better pull this and make sure we still leave with a good product. So now, as I mentioned, George Dickel also does make products like Smooth Ambler. Now, some people go crazy over Smooth Ambler products. There's actually like a 13-year-old Smooth Ambler out there, and they sell for ridiculously high amounts of money on secondary, and all it is George Dickel juice. And I've been asked the question, do you think that's the same whiskey that is in these bottles? And me personally, I don't know. I have not had the 13-year-old. I've only had the Smooth Ambler 7-year. So I can't speak to that, but if I was guessing, I would say this is probably the lower tiered barrels. So probably the honey barrels of the 13-year went into those Smooth Ambler single barrel bottles. Whereas the rest of the whiskey, all the other stocks they had left, are probably what composed the George Dickel 13-year. Overall, a good product. Not going to blow you away, but for 35 bucks, it's a pickup. Thank you guys so much for watching this review today. If you like these types of videos, please do let me know. Hit that like button and subscribe button, and leave a comment for me down below. As you can see, I have a new set behind me. I just finished the whiskey room. This is just one of 3 sets I have planned. This is a high top pub table here. So I'm going to be doing a full bar tour now that I have the whiskey wall up. And I'll give you guys a little more detail on each of my sets, and you'll see it with upcoming reviews and live streams. I'm planning to use it for all those, and I'm really looking forward to it. I couldn't be more excited to have this. It's about 2 days old for me, so I'm like a kid on Christmas right now. I'm just loving it. So thank you so much for watching this review today, though, everyone. Stay insane.